This is just the beginning. To uncover more of humanity's journey in the stars, subscribe and join us for the next thrilling chapter. Before a cliffhanger, right at a pivotal moment in the story, you can tease the next episode with a hint for viewers to subscribe. In a vast hall filled with beings from every corner of the galaxy, the Galactic Council convenes under the soft glow of floating orbs. Voices murmur in countless languages as they discuss routine matters, trade disputes, scientific discoveries, minor skirmishes on distant worlds. Then, an unexpected voice echoes through the chamber. A young representative from a distant star system raises a question that sends a ripple of shock across the council. Why are humans forbidden from participating in galactic warfare? It's a question rarely asked, but one that every council member knows lurks in the shadows of their assembly. The chamber falls silent, each alien face reflecting a mixture of curiosity, unease, and for the elder members, a trace of fear. For as long as they can remember, humans have been kept at arm's length when it comes to war. Though humanity has brought valuable contributions to science, diplomacy, and technology, their involvement in any form of galactic conflict is strictly off-limits. It is a decision embedded in galactic law, yet its origins are shrouded in ambiguity and whispered tales. A counselor from a pacifist species finally breaks the silence, voicing what many are thinking. Perhaps it's time we revisit the reasons behind this prohibition. After all, humans are allies, and we depend on their expertise in countless ways. Why not allow them the honor of defending their own galaxy? An older council member, representative of a species that has seen the rise and fall of empires, clears his throat and speaks, his tone carrying the weight of deep history. The restriction was put in place for reasons beyond our lifetimes. It's a safeguard, not a punishment. Humanity is different. His words hang in the air, unanswered. For the younger representatives, the answer is unsatisfactory. They exchange puzzled glances, whispering among themselves. Different? What could that possibly mean? Despite their interactions with humans over centuries, there are gaps in their knowledge of this peculiar species. They've seen humans as brilliant diplomats, relentless explorers, and resourceful engineers, but warfare, true warfare, has remained a closed chapter, a forbidden story only hinted at in ancient records. Driven by both curiosity and a sense of unease, a representative from a relatively new species steps forward. She has heard fragments of stories, legends that describe a time when humans were allowed to fight, a time marked by a darkness that few beings comprehend. Her voice, laced with a slight tremor, presses the elders for an answer. Then why don't we examine the records? If there's truly a reason, let us all understand it. Hiding knowledge serves no one. The elder council members exchange wary glances. Reluctantly, one of them nods, motioning to the hall's central console. In a move that goes against tradition, the council agrees to unseal the restricted archives. As the holographic screen flickers to life, a hush falls over the chamber. The story begins to unfold, and the council members lean forward, captivated by the ancient account. They learn of a time, many centuries ago, when a great war threatened the galaxy. An unknown alien species, ruthless and seemingly unstoppable, launched a violent campaign of conquest, sweeping through entire star systems with terrifying speed. The Council had united their forces against this menace, but even their combined power fell short. Desperate and on the brink of annihilation, they reached out to Earth, a relatively new member of the galactic community at that time. The humans, initially hesitant, listened to the Council's pleas. They requested autonomy and freedom to devise their own tactics, an unusual request that puzzled the Council members. Yet, the Council, cornered by an unforgiving enemy, granted their wish. What followed was a series of events that would forever change how the galaxy viewed humanity. The first skirmishes with human forces were unlike anything the Council had seen. The humans employed strategies that defied conventional tactics. They wove together layers of misdirection, environmental manipulation, and psychological warfare. Their methods were so unorthodox, so brutally effective, that even allied species found themselves unnerved. Humans had a singular drive, a willingness to win at any cost, propelled by an intensity that was both fascinating and terrifying. As the record continues to reveal details, the council members witness the decisive battle. Humans, understanding the enemy's psychology, played on their fears and weaknesses, striking with an audacity that stunned both their allies and enemies. They were relentless, adaptable, and unyielding, fighting with a passion rooted in something deeper than mere survival. The battle ended with the galaxy saved, but at a tremendous cost. The enemy, overwhelmed and broken, retreated, forever scarred by their encounter with humans. The Allied forces stood victorious, yet they looked upon the humans with a new understanding, a mixture of awe and wariness. Humans had shown a side of themselves that was raw and primal, a side that was willing to descend into darkness for the sake of protecting what they loved. And it was this revelation that led the council to a somber decision. One of the council members watching the archival footage sighs deeply. The memory of that battle remains etched in their history, preserved but hidden, like a scar healed over time. He remembers the faces of those who had fought alongside humans, the silent, haunted expressions that bore witness to a truth about humanity few could understand. With the war won, the Council convened to decide humanity's future in the galactic community. Despite the victory, there was a mutual, unspoken realization that the galaxy could not afford to see humans in battle again. There was something too potent, too unpredictable in humanity's capacity for warfare, a fire that burned with an intensity alien to every other species. The Council enacted the restriction with humanity's quiet acceptance. Humans themselves seemed to understand the need for restraint, a recognition of their own capacity for destruction. They agreed, with a collective vow, to focus on peace, exploration, and diplomacy, leaving the horrors of war behind. As the record concludes, the hall remains silent, each council member processing the revelation. Some are visibly shaken, others thoughtful. The younger representatives now understand. This restriction is not about limiting humans but about preserving the galaxy. Humanity, they realize, is both a guardian and a potential threat, capable of unrivaled devastation should it ever be unleashed again. The elder council member finally speaks, his voice quiet yet resolute. This is why we keep humans from warfare. Not out of mistrust, but out of respect for them and for the galaxy. They are our allies, our protectors in times of peace. But in war they are something else. Something we hope we never have to see again. The council members, each deeply affected, sit in contemplative silence, absorbing the gravity of the past. The council members sit in the reality of humanity's potential, their eyes fixed on the scenes that unfold from once filled with past. Debate and doubt. The records detail an era when the galaxy was united against an enemy so vast, nature, so deadly, a force both that survival had seemed impossible. Star systems were falling like dominoes under the relentless onslaught of a terrifying alien race that pursued conquest with brutal efficiency. The Council, desperate and with all conventional tactics exhausted, had made a fateful decision. They turned to Earth. Though humanity was still relatively new to the galactic community, their potential had been noted. In times of peace, humans were explorers, diplomats, scientists, always pushing the limits of what was possible. But war, that was something different. The humans didn't respond as others had. Where many species would be hesitant, doubtful, or overwhelmed, humanity had requested just one thing: complete autonomy in deciding their approach. They would join the fight, but they would answer to no one, employ any strategy, and execute any plan they deemed fit. This demand was unusual, but with extinction looming, the Council granted them this unusual freedom. The records show humanity's entry into the war in sharp, unfiltered clarity. Unlike any other species, humans approached warfare with a depth and intensity that startled even their allies. They didn't just engage in battle, they orchestrated it. Their tactics went beyond physical force, targeting the enemy's psyche, their fears, and their perceptions. It was as though humanity could see straight into the minds of their adversaries, predicting and exploiting weaknesses with precision that bordered on unsettling. In the early days of the conflict, humans introduced tactics that most species found both ingenious and chilling. They transformed their environment into an ally. By manipulating temperatures, lighting, and even gravitational fields, they turned the battlefield into a psychological nightmare for their enemies. They were adaptable and resourceful, using every available asset, elements others had overlooked, like terrain, atmosphere, and even silence itself. Their forces would lie in wait, motionless for days, then strike with relentless force, vanishing just as quickly, leaving nothing but confusion and fear behind. The record reveals how these tactics shattered the enemy's morale. Despite their overwhelming numbers and technological advantage, the enemy's forces were shaken, fragmented by attacks they couldn't anticipate. Humans demonstrated a calculated ruthlessness, a commitment to the mission that others struggled to comprehend. They pushed themselves to extremes, fighting not just for victory but to ensure the galaxy's survival. Their actions seemed guided by something beyond orders, a drive rooted in a primal instinct to protect and endure, whatever the cost. As the war progressed, it became clear that the humans were not simply fighting. They were waging a campaign of psychological warfare, breaking their enemies' will as much as their forces. Stories spread through the ranks of the enemy. Tales of human soldiers who seemed tireless, who would continue fighting despite injury, who would use their own weaknesses as bait, drawing their foes into deadly traps. They learned to exploit fear, pain, even exhaustion. The humans became symbols of terror, figures whispered about in fear and dread. The enemy began to see them as something almost supernatural, as beings who fought not just with weapons but with their very presence. The council members listen as the record describes the decisive battle, the turning point that would end the war and mark humanity indelibly in the history of the galaxy. The humans had analyzed every previous engagement, understanding the enemy's movements, tendencies, and limitations. They prepared an ambush that utilized every lesson learned. The enemy's fleet was lured into a star system that, on the surface, appeared barren and harmless. But the humans had studied the system in detail, discovering ways to manipulate the stellar and planetary forces to their advantage. When the enemy fleet arrived, they found themselves ensnared in a net of gravitational anomalies, magnetic fields, and other natural traps that humans had transformed into weapons. Their ships malfunctioned, their communications broke down, and confusion took hold. It was then that the humans struck, a coordinated assault that exploited the chaos perfectly. They targeted critical points, dismantling the fleet with precision that left no margin for survival. For the enemy, it was an experience that would be forever burned into their collective memory. They had entered the system expecting a conventional battle, a straightforward engagement where victory was almost assured. Instead, they encountered a force that seemed to read their every thought, anticipate their every move. The humans fought with a level of coordination and determination that other species could barely comprehend. They struck with surgical precision, moving from target to target without hesitation, each blow calculated to inflict maximum damage and confusion. In the aftermath, the enemy's remnants retreated, broken and demoralized. The humans had not simply defeated them, they had dismantled them mentally, leaving them traumatized, haunted by the image of humanity's relentless onslaught. Survivors of that battle spoke of humans in hushed tones, as creatures who could not be stopped, who fought with a will that was unbreakable. Their stories spread, painting humans as something both inspiring and terrifying. The council members watching the record feel a growing sense of discomfort. They see that humanity, despite its peaceful nature and diplomacy, possesses a latent darkness, a willingness to go to places most species feared to tread. They were capable of war on a scale that was not just physical but psychological. Their methods did not just aim to defeat but to obliterate, to end threats before they could even begin. This was no mere battle, it was an exhibition of humanity's capacity to endure, to sacrifice, and to protect at any cost. The record concludes with a recounting of the Council's final decision. After the battle, they had convened to discuss humanity's role in future conflicts. The allied species, despite their gratitude for humanity's intervention, were profoundly unsettled. They recognized a fundamental difference in how humans approached conflict. It wasn't just about the tactics, it was about the mindset. Humans fought with a totality, a conviction that bordered on the obsessive. They were prepared to sacrifice everything, and that made them as dangerous as they were valuable. In a unanimous vote, the Council decided that humans could never again be permitted to join in galactic warfare. Humanity itself, upon understanding the Council's concerns, did not resist. They had fought not out of a desire for conquest but to end a threat. Peace was their preference, and they accepted the restriction, understanding the reasons behind it. They knew that their approach to war was something best left in the past, a dark skill to be abandoned in favor of diplomacy and exploration. The council members sit back, the weight of this history settling upon them. They realize now why humans, despite their contributions to peace, science, and diplomacy, are barred from the battlefield. It is a restriction born not out of fear of humanity, but out of respect for them and for the galaxy. Humans are allies, friends, explorers. But in times of war, they become something else entirely. Something no species in the galaxy is eager to see again. With the ancient records reviewed and the story of humanity's forgotten war freshly absorbed, the council members sit in a reflective silence, each contemplating what they've just witnessed. The gravity of that time, the terrifying power humans had displayed, had answered the lingering question of why humanity was forever banned from engaging in galactic warfare. The decision, taken generations ago, had set a boundary as much for humanity's protection as for the safety of the galaxy. Yet, with such a powerful secret laid bare, the Council feels the weight of that choice again, seeing the truth as if for the first time. In the days following the war's end, as the galaxy began to rebuild, the Council had called a special session to address what they had experienced. Representatives who had fought alongside human soldiers, or who had merely observed the aftermath, arrived at the gathering changed, bearing not just tales of human bravery but memories of something far more profound, a fear-tinged respect. They had seen how humans fought, a relentless, determined force, driven by motives that seemed incomprehensible even to the Council's most seasoned warriors. After intense deliberation, the Council had moved toward one inevitable conclusion. Humans, by their nature, held a unique capacity for warfare. They approached it as if it was a calling, fueled by a deeper, instinctual drive that no other species could fully understand. Though humanity had saved them all, the Council recognized that allowing humans to engage in future wars could risk tearing apart the very fabric of galactic peace. But how could they communicate this to humanity, who had just fought and sacrificed on behalf of the galaxy? The decision needed to be presented with care, with respect. So, instead of framing it as a restriction, they framed it as a pact, an agreement in which humans would focus on advancing in areas that promoted peace and unity. Humanity agreed to the terms without protest. They had seen what war had cost, not just in resources and lives but in the toll it took on their own kind. There was a collective acceptance, an acknowledgement that humanity thrived best in times of peace, not war. As the years passed, humanity's role in the galaxy transformed. They became diplomats, scientists, and explorers. Their curiosity and resilience made them respected figures across countless star systems. When disputes arose, humans were often called upon as mediators, known for their keen insight and impartiality. Their ability to bridge cultural divides, to understand and adapt, became their new signature. The stories of the war gradually faded into the background, preserved only in classified Council archives and passed down as quiet legends among older Council members. But those who remembered, those who had witnessed humanity in battle, knew why the restriction had to be kept in place. The power humans possessed was not in their technology or their weapons but in the unyielding spirit that fueled them in the face of insurmountable odds. The years turned to centuries, and the galaxy enjoyed a period of remarkable stability. New alliances formed, conflicts were averted, and humanity's role became one of subtle influence rather than direct power. With each generation, their legend softened, and for many of the younger Council members, the notion that humans could pose a threat seemed almost laughable. They saw humans as diplomats, artists, and scholars, contributors to peace, with no inclination toward violence. Yet, the Council could never fully erase the past. Every few decades, when a conflict arose that threatened the stability of the galaxy, whispers emerged. Younger species, unfamiliar with the history, would question the restriction, arguing that humanity's unique perspective and creativity might be the very edge needed to maintain order. These voices, though passionate, would eventually be quieted by the elder members, who reminded them of the true cost of unleashing humanity's potential in warfare. Occasionally, young humans themselves would ask about the restriction. They were often curious about why they were discouraged from military pursuits, why their role in galactic defense was limited to diplomatic and scientific support. Older human leaders, briefed on the history, would answer with a vague but resolute response, often hinting at the dangers that lay within the darker potential humanity had chosen to leave behind. Over time, a kind of reverence surrounded humanity's decision to remain out of war. They became symbols of restraint, representatives of a species that had consciously chosen peace over power. Other species admired this commitment, and it shaped how humanity was perceived across the galaxy. Humanity, the reluctant warriors, the race that had touched the darkness but refused to let it define them. This perception did not come without consequence. For some younger species, this mystique painted humanity as a mythical force, a protectorate that could be called upon in the galaxy's darkest hour. These newer species, who had no memory of the war, would occasionally press the Council, questioning if the time might come to repeal the restriction. They argued that humanity's prowess in fields like strategy, innovation, and resilience could tip the scales in a future conflict. In recent years, these discussions had grown more frequent. A new threat loomed on the fringes of known space, a danger that had already claimed several unaligned systems and left others in disarray. Rumors spread that the Council might reconsider its stance, that perhaps humanity's ban on warfare could be lifted under specific circumstances. Yet, each time this idea surfaced, the elders would recount fragments of the forgotten history, silencing these suggestions with a solemn reminder of humanity's unmatched, devastating potential. The Council members who had lived through the war or studied its records felt the unease rising. They knew that humanity was not only capable of adapting to warfare but of fundamentally redefining it, bringing with them a force that could easily spiral beyond anyone's control. They understood that the galaxy's stability was a fragile balance, and introducing humanity into warfare risked tipping that balance irreversibly. Today, as the Council watches the historical record, the sense of caution, of respect, reignites. The younger Council members, who had once been vocal about repealing the restriction, now sit quietly, understanding, perhaps for the first time, the true reason behind the ban. They see now that the restriction was never about suppressing humanity, or keeping them in check. It was about protecting the galaxy, shielding it from a force that, once unleashed, could change the course of history in ways they dared not imagine. And humanity, for its part, had respected the restriction. They had chosen peace, honorably upholding their role as ambassadors, scientists, and diplomats. Their restraint had not diminished them, it had elevated them, turning them into icons of unity. The Council realized that this choice, this quiet dignity in accepting the ban, was a testament to humanity's strength, a strength not found in warfare, but in wisdom and restraint. As the Council reconvenes, each member feels the weight of this history. They understand that humanity's restriction from warfare is not a punishment, but a tribute to their true power. The Council's decision stands firm, honoring humanity's path while preserving the peace they all hold dear. The Council chambers are thick with the atmosphere of contemplation, their history bearing down with fresh relevance. As the record ends, the Council members are left facing a choice that seems to grow heavier with each passing moment. The same question, whispered and lingering, hangs over them all: should they allow humans to fight again? The galaxy is once more in turmoil. A shadow looms from the far reaches, a threat so unprecedented that traditional defenses appear inadequate. The Council members, warned by the weight of this decision, understand the stakes clearly. This isn't just about defending borders. It's about survival. A few younger representatives argue passionately, pushing for change. They urge that humanity's unique abilities might be the edge they need, but they speak cautiously, mindful of the history they've just learned. The elder members, haunted by memories of what they've witnessed in those records, remain hesitant. Finally, they call upon the human ambassador, a diplomat well respected across the galaxy. He stands before them, calm yet resolute, his expression thoughtful as he listens to their arguments. When the Council asks him for humanity's stance on entering warfare, he does not give an immediate answer. Instead, he lets the silence settle, his gaze moving slowly around the room, meeting each counselor's eyes, as if weighing their resolve. In a measured voice, he explains that humanity has respected the band for centuries and believes deeply in the value of peace. But he doesn't deny that humanity understands the reality of war, perhaps more intimately than any other species. He speaks not with pride, but with a calm acceptance of humanity's darker side, explaining that humans have, indeed, prepared for such moments, should it ever come to that. This, he says, is not out of a desire for conflict, but as a necessary measure, knowing the fragile peace that holds the galaxy together could, at any moment, collapse. As he speaks, council members sense the gravity behind his words. Humanity has been ready, quietly, intentionally, prepared for a day that none of them hoped would come. The ambassador describes it as a readiness to protect, to defend, not to conquer. They see in him a calm that carries an underlying intensity, as though each word is a deliberate choice, a reminder of what they had glimpsed in the records. He makes no demands, no declarations of strength or supremacy. Instead, he speaks of responsibility, of the cost of war and the lessons humanity has learned from it. The council members, captivated, ask the ambassador for more insight. They want to understand how humans approach conflict now, after centuries of peace. In response, he shares a set of simulations humanity has developed, scenarios where humans would engage if the galaxy were under existential threat. The council is startled by the complexity, by the strategic brilliance woven into each hypothetical battle. But beyond the strategies, they see something more profound, a willingness to bear whatever burden necessary to protect the galaxy. The simulations illustrate humanity's capacity for war, but they also reveal a deep restraint, a choice to prioritize preservation over dominance. Watching these simulations, the Council gains a new understanding of humanity's potential. This is not a species that would fight recklessly or impulsively. They would do so only when pushed to the brink, when every other option had been exhausted. Humanity's approach, while formidable, is tempered by a respect for life, an understanding of the toll that war takes, not only on the enemy, but on themselves. They know what they are capable of, and they choose, again and again, to avoid that path unless it is absolutely necessary. The ambassador's presentation ends, and the council sits in a contemplative silence, processing the weight of what they've just witnessed. After a long pause, one elder member speaks up, acknowledging that while humanity's readiness is evident, there is wisdom in their restraint. Another member questions whether lifting the restriction would truly benefit the galaxy or if it would invite a new kind of danger, a risk that humanity, once unleashed in warfare, might change the balance of power irrevocably. The council debates intensely, torn between their recognition of humanity's power and their deep-seated fear of it. They acknowledge that humanity's restraint has become a symbol of galactic unity, a commitment to peace that has bound the galaxy together through countless generations. Allowing humans to engage in warfare again could compromise that unity, reawakening the fears and anxieties that had long been set to rest. But the threat they face now is unlike anything they have encountered, and the possibility of calling upon humanity's strength lingers as a potent, if perilous, solution. After hours of discussion, they reach a tentative consensus. Rather than a full repeal of the restriction, they agree to a new clause: humanity may enter galactic warfare, but only under the condition of a unanimous council vote. This decision, they believe, respects both humanity's potential and the importance of peace. The clause acts as a safeguard, a means to ensure that humanity's power is used only as a last resort, when every other measure has failed. The ambassador listens to their decision without reaction, a silent acknowledgement of the council's choice. He understands the weight of this new responsibility. With this resolution, humanity is not simply an ally, they become the guardians of the galaxy, bound by a pledge of restraint, yet recognized as a force that could shift the course of history should the need arise. The council adjourns, leaving each member to contemplate the legacy of humanity in a new light. They leave the chamber with a profound respect for a species that has walked away from the darkness of war, even as they remain prepared to return to it if the galaxy's survival demands it. The galaxy, they realize, is forever changed by this decision. The humans are not just allies, they are a silent promise, a powerful potential waiting to be called upon only when the galaxy has nowhere else to turn. As the Council disperses, a shared understanding lingers in the air, a reminder that humanity's true strength lies not in their capacity for destruction, but in their choice of restraint. They are more than warriors, they are guardians, protectors who wield their strength with wisdom, reserving it only for the darkest hours, when every life in the galaxy depends on their resolve. The Council members depart with a renewed sense of awe, each holding in their hearts the image of humanity not as a threat, but as the galaxy's ultimate, final line of defense.